Hello again and welcome back to the channel. We are getting pretty well holidayed out, and so tonight it's time for just a little bit of comfort food, kind of slow some things down. Anyone who knows me will tell you that my favorite time of year comes right in and around Boxing Day. World Juniors are on, my favorite hockey of the year, and so what we're going to do is we're going to make some comfort food. We're just going to kind of sit around the TV because our boys are playing tonight. And so what we are going to be making tonight is some old school French onion soup. Proper old school traditional French onion soup. And it's just that time of year. You know what? It's a little cold outside and we want something that's going to keep us warm, but something that is really going to kind of warm us from the inside out. Something that's going to feed the soul as well as the belly. And so what I've got here, I've got large frying pan ready to go. I've got 6 decent sized onions that I've already peeled and a couple of cloves of garlic, and we're just going to get this all ready to go right into our pan. So we're going to get our pan preheating. And all I'm going to do here with our onions is just cut them in half and set them off to the side here. Now this looks like a lot of onions, but these will cook down quite a bit. And sometimes it's just nice to have, you know, a quick, simple dinner that we can get on the table fairly quickly. I've got my oven preheating to 450 degrees. And what I'm going to do while I get these guys ready to go, all I'm going to do with these onions is just give them a quick simple chop. I want them to be as thin as possible. And again, as I fan these out, it looks like a lot of onions, but these will cook down quite a bit. Now when I get to about 2/3 of the way through the onion, it's on its thin side. All I want to do is just lie this over so that I can just make quick work of that onion as I'm slicing it through. There we are. All right. So we are going to get these guys cooking. We're going to get a little bit of fat in our pan. I'm using a combination of extra virgin olive oil and butter. I do want the flavor of the butter, but I don't want the butter to burn. And so I'm going to start this off with a couple of tablespoons of good quality olive oil. And I've got a couple of tablespoons here of butter as well, just a little knob of butter that I'm going to put into our pan. We're going to get that melting down. The oil will prevent the butter burning. And so we get the best of both worlds by having oil and butter here in the pan. I'm just going to turn the heat down a little bit. There we are. I just want to incorporate this all together. And we're going to keep going with our onions. There we are. We're just going to get these into our pan so that we can make a little bit more room on our board here. There we are. Now this will fill our pan right up to the top, but like I said, these will cook down. They will soften, they will get sweet. And this will form the basis of our French onion soup. There we are. Now what we want to do is just cook these onions down until they're beautifully soft and caramelized. We're just going to get this started with a little pinch of kosher salt. There we are. And a pinch of freshly cracked black pepper as well. So we're just going to let those go while we finish up the rest of our onions here. And one more. the pan. There we are. Now we're not going to rush this. We don't want to get any real color on this just yet. We want to sweat our onions down, and we want to develop a good bit of flavor over the next, call it, at least 20-30 minutes or so. So we will just give this a toss, make sure we get all of our salt and pepper mixed through there. There we are. All right. We've got a couple of cloves of garlic here as well. We're just going to crush these down. There we are. And we're just going to cut these up nice and fine. There we are. And we're going to get this in. Now, there's a lot of flavor in an onion. It just takes a little bit of time to coax that out. And so what we're going to do over medium heat is we're going to cook these down over the next 20-30 minutes or so. And we are going to get these beautifully colored, beautifully caramelized. There's nothing else to add to this. There's no sugar. There's plenty of natural sugar in the onions. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to cook these down slowly. So I will see you in about 30 minutes time. All right, it is coming up on about a half hour. You'll see our onions have gone from, again, a beautiful pale white. They're starting to pick up some color and become a beautiful golden brown. I just went out to the garden, picked up a few sprigs of thyme, and pulled off the leaves. And all I'm going to do here, this is probably about, I'd say, maybe a teaspoon and a half of thyme leaves. And I'm just going to give these a quick run through with my knife, because I do want these to disperse well through my onions. And this is a combination of thyme, just regular variegated thyme, and lemon thyme. Just happens to be what I have in the garden. But if you don't happen to have both, don't worry about it. Just regular thyme is exactly what you need. So we're going to give this a quick stir. Now, these have cooked down very, very well. You notice when we started this, the pan was really overflowing. We haven't added any more salt and pepper to this, but I am starting to see that it is starting to catch a little bit at the bottom of the pan. And so we are going to add some of our liquids. And normally if I was doing this and just looking to put a little bit of white wine, I would use a wine from the Alsace region of France. That's the region of France that borders Germany. Something with a little bit of sweetness to it. So something like either a Riesling or a Gewürztraminer. What I'm using in this case, and I find this works really, really well in this application, is a medium dry Spanish sherry. Yes, it's not traditional, but you know what? Works well. My kitchen, my rules. And so this is about 4 to 5 ounces of a good medium dry Spanish sherry. So I will just add this in. This gives it beautiful notes of not just, you know, the acidity that you get with you know, your wine, but it gives it a good bit of sweetness, a little bit of nuttiness. It gives it a lot more complexity than you would get with any single just regular wine. This is a fortified wine, and it gets a lot of its flavor compounds and its flavor profile from the barrel that it's aged in. And I'm telling you, if you've never had sherry and onion soup, it adds a great deal of complexity, a little bit of sweetness. I'm telling you, it's a flavor profile that you really have to try to understand. And it's, once you try it, I'm telling you that there's no going back. And so we're going to let the alcohol cook away. We're just going to allow this to evaporate off and leave all of those beautiful flavor notes and characteristics with our onions. Oh, absolutely fantastic. So we're going to let this go for about another 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll be back with our broth. So I will see you in about 4 or 5. All right, it's been about 4 minutes. Our wine is reduced down beautifully. The alcohol is cooked off. So now we're going to get ready to add our stock. And what I'm using here today is a beef stock. This is a beef stock that I've made myself. And all I've done is I've just heated this up. Don't want to add cold stock to a hot pan. And so all we're going to do is we're going to add a liter of a good quality beef stock to this. There we are. Now that is what I'm talking about. That color is absolutely spectacular. So we'll just move this out of the way. All we're going to do is we're just going to bring this up to the simmer, just under the boil. We are going to taste for seasoning, and then we are going to load our ramekins. So while this is going, what we have here, these are onion soup ramekins. They come with these little handles, and basically these are oven-proof containers. You can put these under the broiler, you can put these in a hot oven, and they will deal with the heat very, very well. And so I'm just going to let this come up to the simmer. When that's done, we are going to fill these ramekins. So I will see you in 2. All right, we are back. As we can see, our pan is just starting to come up to the simmer. So I am going to test for seasoning. That's good. So I am just going to adjust that. A little bit of cracked black pepper. And I'm going to add a pinch of salt here as well. There we are. Oh, the smell of this is absolutely phenomenal. There we are. I'm telling you that the flavor of that homemade broth really punches through. So one final taste. We are there. We are there. So we're just going to shut the heat. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill each of these ramekins. So I want to make sure I get a good balance of broth and those beautifully caramelized, beautifully sweet onions. There we are. And maybe one more. There we are. Now we do want to leave just a little bit of room at the top because that is where we're going to add our crouton. I have some beautifully toasted slices of sourdough bread. I'm going to put these croutons on top, and I have some grated Gruyere cheese. This was all grated on a box grater. This Gruyere cheese has a little bit of age to it, so you get beautiful notes of the cheese itself, but certainly you get a lot of nuttiness, a little bit of sweetness, a lot of character in this cheese. So I'm going to fill all of these up, and then we will get to the point where we get our croutons in here. So I will see you in about 2 minutes. Right, we have portioned off our onion soup beautifully. Now all we're going to do is we're going to add these slices of beautiful toasted sourdough bread. So these are a little bit too large, and so all we're going to do is we're just going to cut the ends of these off. We are going to put these right on top, and we are going to put these 2 end pieces right on the side so that we have our beautiful raft right on top for our cheese. So we will simply, there we go. There we are. One on one side, one on the other side. There we are. One and 2. And what we're going to do now, we're only going to be putting cheese on 3 of these because we've got one person in the house who has asked not to have cheese on theirs tonight, which is perfectly fine. And so we will just get this in there so that we cover our crouton. There we are. Now we want some of this cheese to come oozing down the side. That's entirely the point. There we are. And we are ready to go. So we are going to throw this into a 450 degree oven. just until the cheese starts to melt. We're gonna put this in the middle of our oven, and then we're gonna put the broiler on for about 2 or 3 minutes just to get the cheese beautifully bubbled, and we are ready to go. So I will see you in about 5 minutes. I can smell our onion soup. I think they are ready to come out, so we are just gonna pull them out and have a quick look. All right. Oh. Oh. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. That broth has just bubbled up from underneath. Be very careful moving this over. Just gonna get this guy over here with the spatula. We're gonna put him on our dish. There we are. Now this, this is what I'm talking about. Oh, smells absolutely fantastic. I'm telling you, after a day of skiing, snowshoeing, snow shoveling, hockey out at the rink, whatever, this is the kind of stuff that will just warm your soul from the inside out. Oh, look at that. Take off some of that bread and make sure we can dig underneath and get some of those onions as well. Now that's a bite. Oh. The depth of flavor in that dish is absolutely fantastic. And that really comes from no cutting corners. Taking the time to caramelize the onions, seasoning them simply, salt, pepper, a little bit of fresh thyme. That's it. Beautiful hit of sherry, beautiful homemade beef stock, and some absolutely fantastic Gruyere cheese. Oh, love this. Love this. I do hope you try it. As always, do like and subscribe. If you find the content at all useful, do please feel free to share it, as that is the point of the channel. But this is Coach Joe saying I will see you on the next one.